Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Monday, September 2nd. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Western Michigan game in 5 days, the game against Michigan in 89 days. Game number 1 in the books for the Ohio State Buckeyes. They are 1-0. You watched some of the other teams around the country play during week 1. You might have felt a little squirrely about the first half for the Buckeyes, and then you watch Michigan up 16-10 on Fresno State in the fourth quarter, and Oregon struggling to put away Idaho. It might be a little more, might be time to sort of put things in perspective. It was week 1. It's week 1 for everyone. Don't read too much into it. We're going to read a little bit into it today. We're going to be hearing from the Ohio State Buckeyes on a bunch of different topics from week 1. You're also going to be hearing from Akron head coach Joe Moorhead, who had some interesting stuff to say. You're also going to be hearing from Syracuse coach Fran Brown. Why? Well, we'll get there at the end. Another interesting soundbite that came up after the Orange's game against the Ohio Bobcats. We'll get there in a little bit, but let's start with Ohio State head coach Ryan Day. He was asked a question that started as a question about Will Howard's day and what was good and what was bad, but it turned into an answer about a bunch of different guys playing in the stadium for the first time. So here's Ryan Day starting his answer on Will Howard and then sort of going from there.
I'm going to watch the film and kind of make that determination. I thought he had pretty good poise the whole day. He took care of the football, other than the one crazy decision there at the end of the half there to try to force something. Actually, he's got to take a deep breath on that. But for your first start in the shoe, now he is a more experienced guy, but he's in a new offense, in a new environment. I'll say this overall. I felt like early on, the 3 inside guys, they hadn't played in this, Seth and Austin first start, Tegra, Jeremiah, Will, Quinshon's first time playing here. And I think just across the board, there was just, they were a little uptight early on. I think, they were kind of worked up. And you just saw a couple things off, and we got ourselves off schedule. I thought Chip did a nice job of continually pushing the run. You could see that start to take its effect in the second half. And then I thought we sort of settled in and started to have more fun and kind of, we started to play with a little looser, which is the way we need to play. And I thought we were a little bit uptight early on, and we can't play like that. We got to come out of the gates, playing loose, but I get it. And so we're going to get on the film and grow from there. But for a lot of these guys, it's a start and their first start. So, and then also good to see some younger guys towards the end get in there and play. And those guys are in there like to play. And it's not just to eat up reps. And it's not just to build depth for the future. It's also because there are metrics in play here for the playoffs that we have to make sure that we're a part of in terms of offense and defense. And so those guys have been told that. And I thought they did go in there and compete towards the end.
Probably the single biggest story of game number 1 for the Buckeyes was true freshman wide receiver Jeremiah Smith, 6 catches, 92 yards, a pair of touchdowns, very impressive debut, sort of the debut that everyone was sort of hoping to see, wasn't sure. Well, it happened. Now you've seen it in person. The legend is apparently true. So he played through a couple early mistakes as well. He had first pass thrown to him, hit him in the hands, dropped it, didn't catch it. Took a penalty. Buckeyes ended up punting on that first drive, played through it though, ended up with a very impressive debut.
You can see the talent, and like you said, we're going to play right through just about all of it. I think he's another guy. I mean, sometimes you look at him, you don't even think he's quite human, but he is. And, he's going to make a few early mistakes, but not very many. You can see the talent there, and he's going to sleep good tonight, though. I can tell you that. And I think they all need to get some rest tonight. It was a long week. It was a hot week. We practiced really hard. We practiced Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday in pads, physical for a reason. And it was hot out there today, but that's good. It was hard, and they'll sleep good tonight, and we'll get back at it tomorrow.
The physical talent is one thing with Jeremiah Smith, but the ability to play through those 2 early mistakes, that's the kind of thing that might have shaken the confidence of a lot of true freshmen who are out there for the first game. How was he able to put those 2 mistakes behind him so quickly?
He's built different. He is. Just the way his approach is, you can see his size and speed and all that. But typically somebody with that type of talent doesn't have the discipline, the focus that he does. And so nobody even batted an eye. I mean, nobody said a word. Like, it was like, he's just going to play through this and we're going to be fine. It wasn't even consideration because we see what he does every day in practice, and we knew he was going to settle in.
The Buckeye run game was a little disjointed in the first half. Felt like they would sort of get something going and then someone would miss a block and just wouldn't be able to get things going. consistently like they wanted to. So did the patchwork offensive line with Donovan Jackson sitting out and Tigger Shabola making his first career start and Seth McLaughlin making his first start as a Buckeye, did that play any sort of a part in that sort of disjointed run game in the first half?
Yeah, when I looked at the numbers at halftime, I thought it was going to be a lot worse than it was. I think Trey was averaging 6 yards a carry and Quinshon was just under 4. And then it looked much better in the second half. I just think there was some things off in there on the interior. Guys, just weren't quite fitting it up right. We weren't that far off. I thought schematically we had some good ideas in what we were doing. And there was a couple runs that maybe we could have hit better at running back. But I just think that we were just not great in the fits early on. And I think, you have to ask those guys. They seemed like they were pressing a little bit early on again. But then I thought they really settled in a little bit. I thought Chip called a good game. I really do. I think that, he knows what he wants to get done with this team. He wants to establish this run. And that means, maybe that's not scoring, 70 or whatever, but we need to establish the run late in the season. So we're going to do that. And the quarterback's going to be a part of it. And so I don't know how to grade it. I got to watch the film and see. The good thing is I actually get to watch some of the film during the game now. So I can't just always say I'm going to wait till tomorrow to make a decision. So I did see some of it and it wasn't all great. It wasn't all bad either, though.
Last year's Ohio State defense was very effective, among the nation's best in just about every category, but not in turnovers. They really just didn't create a lot of turnovers last year for whatever reason, and that was a point of emphasis for the Buckeyes throughout fall camp. Saturday, they not only got 2 turnovers, they got 2 turnovers for touchdowns. That's a pretty big step forward for Ryan Day's team and Jim Knowles' defense.
Yeah, it was great. I thought that, Joe had a pretty good plan of getting the ball out of the quarterback's hand quickly, and that can eliminate the pass rush quickly and tire the front. But I thought our guys did a good job of getting their hands on some stuff and make that adjustment. But then I know we tightened up some coverage a little bit, made them hold on to it a few times, and so then we were able to get home with it. I thought the effort play by Caden Curry was tremendous to come back around, because that wasn't, as I remember it, it wasn't like a sack, in the first second or two of the play. I mean, it was a scramble, step up. He was kind of towards the line of scrimmage, and then he retraced back with a great effort play and knocked the ball out. And that's something we talk a lot about when you're talking about turnovers. We did a quick study about the college and the NFL, and one of the big percentage of turnovers is strip sacks on the quarterback, whether he's in the pocket or coming out of the pocket. And that was a great one. And then the other study that we did is just, on fumbles and, how we want to, handle those. If we're in tight areas, we want to get on them. If we get them open areas, we're scooping and scoring. And there's an art to that. And we practice that every Tuesday. But then I also thought there was some really good block set up on that play as well. I thought the tip ball, Gabe made a really nice play on the ball. That was just kind of a more athletic play, but ball disruption is something we spent some time on this offseason, and ball security. If we're going to win, these games, we've got to make sure that we're winning the ball security and turnover, part of the game. But yeah, anytime you get a defensive score, that's huge. And you could see we were close to in a couple other returns. We're working at it, and we were just a 1 or 2 away. I don't know what Brandon's return yardage was, but you can see there's some potential back there. We got a bunch of guys buying into that, and we were getting there. I mean, it was better today than I remember it in the past. And so we'll keep working on that, because if we can get some special team scores, defensive scores, that can be a huge part of our season.
Now on to Jeremiah Smith, and I'll let you hear from him a little bit. Chris Carter, after that drop, Chris Carter, of course, former legendary Ohio State wide receiver, NFL Hall of Famer, tweeted, basically, "Don't worry, man. I dropped my first pass at Ohio State too." So what was Jeremiah Smith's reaction to that first drive with the drop and the penalty?
My reaction to dropping the ball was, I don't know. I can't really explain that one. But when I came to the sideline, I was just mad at myself. But, it's football. You play receiver, you go drop the ball. But you can't drop it that much. So, I just moved on, just made a play the next drive. So.
Jeremiah Smith has obviously been getting a lot of hype basically since the day he stepped on campus, to the point that Ohio State players and coaches were more or less openly saying they didn't want to talk him up too much because they didn't want to make it too crazy around him. They didn't want the hype to get too out of hand. Was he kind of feeling the pressure early today to do something spectacular?
Pressure? No, I don't really feel pressure. I just want to go out there and play football and win, play football and win games. So, I know all the hype around me was crazy coming in, and I just wanted to come in and be a guy, just work and just not be about all hype. So, I mean, just want to impress my coaches, impress my peers around me and my teammates. So that's all.
Now on to Ohio State starting quarterback Will Howard. He had a solid, not necessarily spectacular, but a solid, effective, efficient day. The kind of boring day that Ohio State coaches are probably going to be perfectly happy with this year out of Will Howard. But the first half was a little raggedy at times. So what was the conversation in the locker room like at the half as they were trying to figure out how to get things on track?
One of our goals in this game was to play clean. And I feel like we didn't really do that in the first half. But at the end of the day, we just kind of had to get together and say, let's settle down, just play our game, don't think about it too much. Don't, let the fact that, it's maybe our first time playing the shoe, like just got to settle in, and play football. And I think we did a good job of that in the second half, but we definitely need to work on, starting a little faster, starting a little better and not having those mistakes that we had in the first half, me personally, included in that. And I mean, we built off it and, we came out in the second half and guns a-blazing and did really well. And obviously a win is a win. And when you win by as much as we did, it's good. And, I'm happy that we won. But there's still a lot of stuff to clean up.
Will Howard will go down in history as the answer to the trivia question, who threw Jeremiah Smith's first touchdown pass? And it was a nice play by Smith. He made a nice adjustment up in the air to go get it. And so here was Will Howard's view of that pass.
If he's pressed and it's one-on-one, put it up and he'll make the play. And that's exactly what he did. I just saw he was pressed, so I tried to put it up over top and he actually made a little adjustment and came back to it. And I mean, that's all I got to do is just, give him a chance and he's going to do the rest. You guys saw that today.
And finally, Will Howard, he's not new to being a starting college quarterback. He's done that a bunch at Kansas State, but he is new to being the starting quarterback at Ohio State. So what was that like, that first day in the horseshoe? Is he happy to sort of have that in the rearview mirror and now have a little bit more to go on when he's to prepare him for these games?
It's cool, man. It's a pretty freaking cool stadium and the fans and the band and just I've never been a part of so many different traditions. And I had to learn all these new traditions that we had. And it's cool, man. It's fun. It's it makes it more engaging, for everyone involved. And the skull session and just getting to experience all this stuff that I've heard about for the first time was really fun. And now that I got it all under my belt, it's all right, now I've done it and now it's, it's business as usual from now on. But it's still cool and it's still fun to appreciate it, when, I only have 12 opportunities as a Buckeye, guaranteed. And, obviously, hopefully we get 16 or 17, but, I only have so many opportunities as a Buckeye. So I gotta soak it all in and enjoy it while I'm here, man. And it's quite an environment, quite an atmosphere. And I'm just glad to be a part of it.
Now going to give you a couple quick clips from Akron head coach Joe Moorhead. He was asked his thoughts on the Buckeyes, and it turned into his thoughts on the Buckeyes as a national championship contender.
I learned that Ohio State is an incredibly talented team that is very well coached, and we'll have an opportunity, in my opinion, having coached against the 2019 LSU team, and took my son to see Michigan last spring for a recruiting visit. So I know what a team that can play for the national championship looks like, and this looks like a team that can play for the national championship.
I got a chance to ask Joe Moorhead about what he knew about Jeremiah Smith before the game and what he knows now about Jeremiah Smith and the Ohio State wide receiver room.
We follow each other on Twitter, which is cool. So I think it might have been, I don't know where I would have been, certainly when I wasn't here, but he's as advertised, and we recruited a Mecca when I was at Oregon, and then the Tate kid. So it's just an embarrassment of riches. Everywhere you look, there's a guy that can catch it and break a tackle and score, or a guy that can run by it, and a guy who can throw him the ball, and a line that can protect. So to see that kid play in person after all the kind of pomp and circumstance leading up to it, he lived up to the billing.
Finally, I mentioned this off the top of the show, and this is one of the things that turned into a whole thing on Twitter, because while the Buckeyes were sort of struggling a little bit on offense in the first half, Kyle McCord was the quarterback of Syracuse. He had a pretty nice day. They started off a little slow, but he finished with 27 for 39, 354 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick in a win over the Ohio Bobcats. They did start slow, fell behind 6-0. Fran Brown seemed pretty happy with Kyle McCord's day on the whole, Had a pretty good line at the end of this about Ryan Day, so that's why I included this one in this show as well.
I think that we needed that. We've never dealt with adversity. We got to be down 6-0. There was a lot of things that we were able to deal with throughout the game that helped us and showed that, we'll continue to play, we'll continue to count on each other and do things of that nature. So, not getting down. Cal's a good football player. You seen it right there. I should send Ryan Day a bottle of champagne for allowing us to get him. It's pretty cool.
All right, that may be the last time you hear from Fran Brown on this show this season. It will definitely not be the last time you hear from Ryan Day or Will Howard or Jeremiah Smith. We'll be back with plenty more shows this week. We'll have plenty of interviews, insight and analysis, all that kind of good stuff. And a great place to find all of that and even more detail. If you like this show, you would love BuckeyeHuddle.com. That's where Tony, Kevin, and I cover the team. Mark covers recruiting. Got our whole team of X's and O's gurus there to make you a smarter football fan, all at BuckeyeHuddle.com. We hope to see you there. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.